Friends, we kick things off today with an admission. You and I, we've driven practically every flavor of Porsche Macan since the Porsche Macan has come out. However, I have never driven the car in which it's based, the Audi Q5. And it most likely is high time we fix that. But if we're going to do this, and we've waited this long, perhaps we should start with the one that has the most horsepower and is also the one from Audi Sport. Okay, so you and I may not have driven a Q5 together, but we have driven that engine together. It is a 3-liter single turbocharged V6. You can kind of see the turbocharger here. Good for 349 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. Now, how does that fit into the updated matrix for 2021 of the Q5 world? Well, it's about 100 horsepower more than the 2-liter 4-cylinder that now has a mild hybrid system. And then oddly, it's the exact same torque as the plug-in hybrid that they're slotting between these two vehicles. Now, this is an Audi, so that means it is a quattro all-wheel drive system. Then there is the transmission that drives that all-wheel drive system. It is an 8-speed automatic. However, unlike the 2-liter 4-cylinder where that has a dual clutch, this is a Tiptronic, which means it has a torque converter. Then there's the fuel economy, 18-24-20. What can I say? It's not a hybrid. And then, of course, the performance figures, which this vehicle is sort of about. 0 to 60 is improved in this move to the 2021 model year, 4.7 to 60 as opposed to 5.1, and VMAX electronic limited to 155 miles an hour. Now, I do need to bring something up here because this car, we're going to find out throughout the episode, is a bit of an international citizen. The engine, it is constructed in Hungary, and the transmission in Germany. She's small, but she ain't light. 4,321 pounds, or depending on how you express your weights and measures, 1,959 kilograms. With that, oh, there's a little bit of a delay there. Oh, but she definitely wakes up. That's quick, that's good. A lot of pageantry, meaning there's a good amount of noise there when you get aggressive with the accelerator. Really good power above 3,000 RPM. I'd say the best use of the power is somewhere between 3,000 and 4,500 RPM. Enough to pull you out of passing power moments or holes like that. That said, a bit of a hinweis here. I wouldn't suggest anyone goes into driving this thinking this is an RS Audi. It is definitely an S Audi, which is a good thing, but not the fastest thing on the planet. The underpinnings contained in this update to the SQ5 are the same in the SQ5 that came before it. So a bit of a refresher, multi-link in the front, multi-link in the rear. The wheels, there are 2 choices on offer. 20 inches fitted as standard, then these 21-inch wheels, and you will notice looking through the wheel, the brake caliper is the same, it's just painted red as part of the package that gives you something else that's very important here, and that is a sport package. Now, follow me on this one for a minute, because this car, it's the fanciest SQ5 one can have, which means it has an adjustable damper fitted as standard. However, this one has an air ride system that's optional as part of the sport package, which makes those calipers red, but also changes the ride height of the vehicle when it goes to air ride. It lowers the ride height by 30 millimeters. Now, there are 2 other items that come along with that sport package: torque vectoring control and a sport differential in the rear. Now, as I said, this is probably the most fancy SQ5 on offer, which means it has another performance option, and that is dynamic steering. Rather than me tell you the difference, let's test it out later. As you and I get through a normal road here very aggressively, the first thing that jumps out at you is it just doesn't feel like a 4,400 pound vehicle. It feels like 3,500 pounds. It's a shorter vehicle. It feels more nimble, and one of the things that goes along with that, you don't feel as much weight transfer in a vehicle that does have a higher center of gravity. And that works in conjunction with more control over squat and dive. Over the past 2 years, I've covered in a number of episodes about different OEMs that the #1 seller for a specific brand has changed. It's gone from, say, the Altima to the Nissan Rogue in the Nissan's case, or the Camry to the RAV4. So you will not be surprised to learn that the Q5, and I guess by association the SQ5, makes up a third of Audi sales. To give you an idea, the A4 was like 50%, and now that's kind of going down, and this is going up. So you can imagine they want to make some updates to keep this going. And it doesn't look a whole hell of a lot different. Really, the biggest difference on the outside is maybe a little bit of change to the grille, but mainly the lights. And it's LED both front and rear. However, this one, it's a fancy one, so it's got OLED lights in the rear, kind of like the fancy TVs you see at Costco that are like 4 times the price of really cheap ones. You got to see the lights in person to understand how big of a difference it makes. Then they changed the diffuser in the back, and the tailpipes, they're a bit strange. And then inside, the infotainment system, that's different. It's not that it looks entirely different, it kind of looks like what we saw in the RS6, which brings along Apple CarPlay, and most importantly, they swap out the processor. And think of this as like trading in your laptop from 1999 for something 2021 with the new like M3 chips from Apple. Really just makes it more usable of a computer. 2 aspects that are incredibly important in SUVs that are meant to be sporty: steering and brakes. And here it's above average. Like for example, the steering, there's unusually good weight to it, better than most SUVs, even sporty SUVs. You can feel the connection to the Porsche Macan here. And then there are the brakes. Here there's good pedal modulation. I would say enough stopping power. That said, I don't think I would take this to the track. Now those 2 things work in conjunction with ride quality, and again, I would say here it's above average. It's not to the point where it feels rough, where you feel the road. It is sporty, it's purposeful, but not anything your wife, grandmother, or girlfriend would complain about. Yes, it is indeed that time again to play your favorite game, Mind the Options game, with today's contestant. The first time we are ever featuring a Q5 or an SQ5 in a round of our game. This one, the 2021 Audi SQ5 Quattro for $52,900. To that we add the paint. It's green. They call it District Green. And a bit of a story here. I normally take the cars to the top of the hill, PV, here in Los Angeles, and I've gotten to know some of the neighbors in the neighborhood in which I shoot the cars amongst these beautiful green trees. And this lovely woman that usually comes out, she's got this cute little chihuahua. She's married to a Greek guy, by the way. She looked at this color and said, "That is horrible," and basically ran the other way with the dog. Then an older gentleman who was kind of running and then bouncing a tennis ball, he comes up and he's like, "That is certainly an intriguing color." I don't think he called it positive, but intriguing is better than running the other way. Me personally, I think this thing looks great. You gotta see it in person to understand the color. Either way, $595. To that we add the Prestige package. This adds a lot of stuff. The Bang & Olufsen stereo system, the OLED taillights, the panoramic sunroof. I don't know why that's not standard in a $53,000 car. Heated everything, seats, steering wheel, even the rear seats, and the active cruise control for, wait for it, $9,600. Almost 20% of the base price of the vehicle. Then we add arguably the most important option to this car, and that is the S Sport package. That's an adaptive air suspension, the sport rear differential, and the red painted calipers, $3,000. Then the second most important option, the dynamic steering, $1,150. Although this is supposed to be from Audi Sport, why are you charging me extra for better steering? Then the 21-inch black optic wheels. So it's the larger wheel, but also with the black trim on the insets. That's an additional $1,000, and that comes with summer tires. The Napa leather is an additional $600 because vinyl is standard on a $53,000 car. Can we fix that? The carbon Atlas inlays on the dash and the doors, $500. I would prefer open pore wood. And then I don't understand, this is a baby buggy and it's not a cheap one. Why are you charging me extra for the rear side airbags? $350. Then in our continuing series of This is an International Citizen, this car is not made in Deutschland. Instead, it's made in San Jose, Chiapa. I may be butchering that name, but San Jose, Chiapa, Mexico, and the destination is $1,095 for a total suggested retail price of $71,790. So back to that theme at the top of the episode about this being the first Q5 of any flavor you and I are driving together. There are a couple things that jump out at me that I like more in the Q5, and they're all UX related. Like, for example, there are chunky knobs and toggle switches for the HVAC system. Can more companies do this, including Audi? Can you do this in like an RS6? This is much better than the second screen down here because I don't have to take my eye off the road to adjust the HVAC system. Yeah, I get it. All the kids nowadays, they want these fancy screens. And this one, okay, it's not bad, but can we have like the unified controller down here to control stuff instead of having to touch it with my finger? Because where your finger goes is where your eyes go. And then something incredibly unique here. Yes, this has a Qi wireless charger. Most cars like this do. But this one, it's not like a cavernous hole. It's not a cave. Instead, there is an ingenious little trick here. The Qi wireless charger is the cover for the cup holders, meaning it does two things at once. There's much more usable space here, which turns into two cup holders, one that is refrigerated and one that is heated, and that is below a wireless charger. A lot going on, but like the ingenuity here. And then last, but certainly not least, I am a huge fan of the Audi MMI system, and here it's one of the later versions where it has 3 different designs one can select, and then you could switch between the different views within each design. I don't know about you guys, but today was a hell of a learning experience because now I finally understand why the Porsche Macan is so damn good. This is that good. I would even go so far as to saying this one dynamically is a bit sharper when you consider the price difference between a Macan and a Q5, which gets me to the one area that gives me pause. $71,000 is a hell of a lot of money, especially when you consider it's kind of like a smallish crossover SUV kind of a thing. I'm not mad at like 53 for the basic vehicle, especially when you consider some Explorers cost way more than that. But this is where we get into the wish list. Can we do one that has the sunroof, one that has the sport suspension and the dynamic steering, maybe even 21-inch wheels in a cool color like this, and call it even at like high 50s? Because they're bargain of the century. But 72, that I think is a bridge too far. But this is the point of the episode where I turn this around to you guys and let you opine in the comments below about what we should add to the wish list, or whether you agree or not agree with me about my pricing concerns. Let me know in the comments below, or via our social media, MotoManTV, all one word, MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And until I see you next time, no matter what my neighbors up on the hill say, I still like this color. Bis später.